Pixar. Pixar is a very, very well-known studio for their CGI animation. Hey guys, this is Dasho Rose here. I am back to do another video, but this time I'm going to be doing an RIP video on a topic I didn't think I was going to be talking about, which is Pixar. Yes, I'm going to be doing a video on Pixar, on the downfall of Pixar. So, if you guys don't know what my RIP videos are, basically they are, I go through companies and shows and all of that, and I talk about their downfall and you know, where they're at now and all of that. Now, I didn't think I was going to be doing one on Pixar, because Pixar currently doesn't, well, in the past, it didn't really have a lot of problems, and I couldn't think of a lot to talk about, besides one thing which we'll get to here in a little bit on the video, but I figured there are things I can talk about throughout history about Pixar and why it's not the same anymore. So, yeah. But without any further ado, if you guys haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm currently at 252 subs. Thank you guys for the support. I really do appreciate it. I do. And now let's get into the video. Now, before we do talk about the video, I do want to bring up too real quick that I do like Pixar. Pixar is a very good studio. I think they got good movies and all of that, but they have fallen downhill. So I just want to let you guys know that I do like Pixar. I've done a review on every movie so far that's come out, so you guys know. But I figured I'd just address that so you guys know. But anywho, for real this time, let's get into the downfall of Pixar. Okay, so we need to talk about Pixar right now. I'm going to be talking about the history. So, where did Pixar start? Where did this studio start? Well, actually, you guys probably won't believe this, but actually, originally, it started with George Lucas. Yes, it started with George Lucas, the guy who created the legendary Star Wars franchise, the Indiana Jones franchise. He's also, I think he's made, like, Howard the Duck and stuff and all that, but no one talks about Howard the Duck, I mean, I hear a lot of people don't like that film. I never seen the whole movie of that, but I remember it being boring and stuff, but I actually can't remember if that was actually a Lucasfilm movie or not, but I did see it a while back. I just never finished watching it. But you get the idea. This guy created a lot of movies and stuff. But he was responsible for the creation of, the start of Pixar. See, Pixar actually began it began back like in the 1970s, actually, the late 1970s. But it was basically owned by George Lucas and all that, and it was under a different name. It was under a different name, which I don't remember the name of it exactly. I thought I had it wrote down, but I don't think I do. But the fact that again that this is this is made by George Lucas, and all that, that's saying something. But you may be asking yourself, well, if George Lucas owned it back then, why did he sell it? Well, I did some research on that right before I started the video. I almost forgot, but I did some research on it. I found out that apparently his company was kind of, was struggling with money at the time when his wife divorced him. So, So basically, though, he he had to make some money, so he sold off Pixar and all that to a different person who was in charge at the time. But to Jobs or something like that. I can't really read it very well on my DSI, but yeah, basically this guy named Steve took over the company Pixar, and that's when Pixar was born. It became Pixar, the legendary studio that we all know today as Pixar. But yeah, just the fact that, again, like I said, that this was originally under George Lucas is saying something. But yeah, so basically, though, now we're going to get to the next part of the video that I want to talk about, because this is actually very important. But you guys know that Pixar is known for their movies. But actually, now a lot of people actually might know this, because, Pixar made some shorts and stuff in the past. In fact, I actually own Pixar's shorts Volume 1 and Volume 2 on DVD. I do. I own both of them. I don't own the third volume yet. I haven't bought it yet, but I do own the first two. And funny enough, Pixar was trying to practice animation. They were practicing animation, and their animation was, they made shorts like this. This is the very first short that came out in, I think it was 1983. It came out. But yeah, it came out in 1983. Actually, no, wait, 1984. Sorry, 1984. And it was known as Wall-E B. Now, I don't know much about this short. I honestly have not seen that many Pixar shorts, to be honest. Yeah, I own it on DVD, but I have not seen a lot of the shorts. I've seen some of them, like, on DVD and stuff from, like, other movies. But I've not seen a lot of these shorts. I've seen some of them at school and stuff in the past, because we were doing a guessing game, like a prediction, thing at school. But I never actually seen a lot of these shorts. This is one of them. This is the first short, and I've never seen it. And a lot of people don't really talk about it either. A lot of people don't talk about these shorts. But I gotta say, though, for the shorts I have seen with Pixar are pretty good. They're not great. Like, some of them are probably, forgettable. But some of them I've seen are actually pretty good. Like, I've seen one with The Incredibles that came out years later. That one was really good. That was a good short. I love that short. I did like that. That was a good short. It was basically showing Jack's powers and all that, and it was pretty good. But I haven't really seen, I've seen also, one where there's, a shaved, lamb or something. I think it's a lamb, I can't remember. That one was kind of boring, but I don't know if it's a lamb or not. I need to rewatch the shorts again, because down the road, I do plan on reviewing all the shorts. I'll probably review them. I might review them. I haven't decided yet, but I might end up doing them all in one video, because that way, that they're shorts, and that make the video too short to do them at once. Or I could just split them up too. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet with the shorts, so it's going to be a while before I make the video, but I do plan on making it in the future, I do. But yeah, so yeah, basically though, this is the very first short here. I'm not sure what it's about. I haven't really seen it before, but I looked up on Wikipedia, and this says it, on Google, it says this is the first short that they've produced. And I gotta say, by looking at the picture, it looks pretty good. So even Pixar back then had very good animation for its time. But But this trend would continue all the way until the early 90s. Yes, this would continue all the way to the early 90s. Then we get to probably one of the most important movies of history. That is Toy Story. But believe it or not, Toy Story was actually originally going to be much different. As you guys can see right here, Woody looks different, Buzz looks different. Now, I heard that they changed Woody up. They changed him up because he was a likable character. So they changed his character up to make him more likable. Now, he was supposed to be the villain of the movie, but I'm not sure if he redeemed himself at the end in the original script or not. Because there's quite a bit of deleted scenes I found on YouTube where, like, the story is so much different. But, like, there's one where Woody is rescuing Buzz from Sid, and Sid's like this like teenager kid, and not a kid. He's actually a teenager, and there's different dialogue. So clearly they had different ways of writing the story for Toy Story. But clearly this was not the best impression here for the Toy Story movies because they wanted to make Woody more likable. Now the thing is though that this is actually the start of what we have now is CGI movies. Now, some people are kind of, I heard some people are kind of sick of CGI. Some people want to see 2D animation again, like, for films. I personally don't mind the CGI. I do agree with what people say, though. Like, I do think they need to bring back hand-drawn animation, or maybe at least use 2D animation in computers and stuff, Because doing hand-drawn animation can be hard, too, but I feel like there's just too much CGI, and with cartoons and stuff, like they look so much more colorful and bright with 2D animation than they do with CGI. But the CGI isn't bad. But yeah, that's basically what started this. So we got the Toy Story short, well, the Toy Story glimpses and pieces of it. But then, they changed it up, and this is the Toy Story we all know and love today. This is Pixar's first movie, Toy Story. Now, this movie was amazing. A lot of people really liked it. Some people think it's their favorite Pixar movie of all the time. I think there's better Pixar movies out there, but this one's still really good. I mean, its sequel, I think, is better than this one. But this movie was still really good. I still liked it. I still liked the movie. And it ended up becoming a legend. Because it was different animation at the time. It was new. So people saw it in the theaters. People were probably jumping up in their seats and stuff. And were like, look at this new animation style. Because technically, this is the first full-fledged CGI film. Now, there were, shorts and commercials in the past that were CGI, but this is the first actual CGI film that was ever made. It really holds up today. The animation's really good. I think it just looks very good, and yeah, I think it holds up pretty well. Sure, some like the trees and stuff look a little plasticky and stuff, but the leaves and stuff do on them, but otherwise it looks pretty good for it ages really well. But I gotta say though, I do really like it. And something worth note about Toy Story that I brought up, I'm gonna bring it up again, but that I brought up in my my review of Toy Story. But Toy Story was actually going to have a different intro originally. Yes, it was going to have a different intro originally. This was going to be its original intro. But yes, it was going to be its original intro. So it was basically going to be But yes, this was gonna be its original intro, which was the 1985 castle. Now, I couldn't find really much on this, but I do know that they changed it because I saw the trailers and stuff with this. Now, I wasn't born in 1985, but there's trailers all over the place. Well, I wasn't born in 1995 either, but I was born in the early 2000s is when I was born. But there was, But I did see the trailers of this, and this is the castle that they ended up picking. And I gotta say, this is something I could not find on Google, like why they chose this castle. I'm gonna assume because it makes it stand out. See, Pixar originally had its own intro. It was basically a different version of the 2D castle that they have, in the 1980s through, the early 2000s. This is the castle they chose for Pixar. And I gotta say, I like this idea. I like this a lot. It makes Pixar stand out more than compared to Disney when they have a different intro. I like that a lot. Instead of giving them the same intro and all that, they did like what other studios didn't do, and that's actually give them a different, intro. Because a lot of movie studios now, like Universal and stuff, although their intro is really good too, their intro, they use it all the time in like Illumination and DreamWorks and stuff because they own both of those properties. And then instead of changing it up, it's the same intro over and over again. But Disney back then chose a different intro to use. But they chose a different intro to use, and I like that. I like how it's different. But yes, it's different and unique, and I do really like it a lot. I really like how they decided to do that. Because, it makes, again, like I said, it makes Pixar feel unique, and it makes them stand out compared to, Disney and all that. I really like that. That was a smart move on them. But that's the thing. They use this intro. They use this intro for a while here. But something ended up happening, though. Something actually big happened in 2006. Something really big happened. Apparently, Disney movies were struggling to make money, but Pixar was doing really well. So in 2006, because Bob Iger became the CEO of Disney in 2005, but 2006, he decided to have Disney purchase Pixar for a few $1 billion. And I gotta say, I think that was a smart move. Now, personally, I don't like Bob Iger. I mentioned this on my channel before. I despise Bob Iger. I despise all the decisions he's made throughout the years. But this is one of the very few decisions he made that was actually smart. Basically, he decided to buy Pixar because Disney was struggling to make money. Their films were not doing awful. Now these days, Disney films are doing very bad. But back then, they were doing somewhat okay, but they weren't bringing in the numbers they were hoping for. So they purchased Pixar in 2006, and this is when Pixar was basically born. Well, Pixar and Disney basically merged. So they became, they didn't merge completely. They were still separate companies, but basically they became, a partnership company, a complete partnership. See, Disney basically teamed up with Pixar and all that, and in the 90s and stuff to produce Toy Story, but they were never a full-fledged company together. But now they're working together and making films and all that, and it was a great idea. It was great. And things were going pretty well. Sure, there was Cars that came out the same year, and a lot of people didn't like Cars, but there was also Ratatouille and all that. And movies like Ratatouille was really well received. So was WALL-E and a lot of other films. So clearly, they were still making great movies and stuff. Unfortunately, something changed though. See, in 2006, they also decided to change the intro for the Disney films. Pirates in the Caribbean is the first movie, the second one at least, is the first movie, like Disney movie, to actually use a different intro. Yes. So basically, Disney was dropping the 2D castle intro, and they basically were using the new intro, which is this one right here. And now some people were kind of split on this. Well, at the time, people were happy to see a new intro, but what makes people really split and turn on this is it took a couple years, but because Ratatouille still was using the CGI castle intro and all that, and they used it in a short. But the Ratatouille short was the last Pixar property that was actually featured the original intro they used. So unfortunately, when WALL-E came out, they swapped it with this one. And this is where people were actually pretty turned on this. Some people were okay with it, because some people really like this intro. But then there was people who like it, but were upset because, Pixar no longer has their own intro and all that, and they basically don't stand out as much with Disney. This is where I feel like the Pixar started going and turning into Disney here. This is where they started, they started going downhill. It's when they removed the intro. Now this wasn't a huge change. We're going to get to a huge change here in a second, but it was a huge change, and I understand why they would update. Personally, I still think the 1985 castle intro is better for Disney, even though the new one's not bad. I told you guys I don't hate it. I actually think it's okay. I just don't think it's that great. I think they overuse it too much and all that, but it's okay. It's okay. I think it's all right, and I think it works. I just prefer it because it makes it stand out. Because the other intros, besides Warner Brothers, the other intros kind of show off more details and stuff. Disney's was more simplified with a blue background and stuff. I think that made them stand out a bit more with the other studios. But the new one was not bad. But then, again, like I said, they decided to swap out the Pixar intro with the Disney one. And this is where, again, people were split on this. But I have to agree with the fans. I think they should have at least kept it, the Pixar intro. It's fine if they decide to get rid of, the castle intro, for the Disney movies, because they used that one a lot. But they hardly used the Pixar one at all. They hardly used it at all. They only used it in 8 films and a few shorts. That was it. That was all they used it for. So they basically had this great intro that made it stand out, and now they have the same intro. And they still have to this day. They still have the same intro to this day. They still have it to this day. And I gotta say, again, it's not an awful intro. I already said that, but I'm saying it again, just to clarify. It is not an awful intro, but I'd rather have had, the Pixar keep the 1995 castle intro they used for Toy Story, where it makes it stand out, because that's what they were trying to do in the 90s. They were trying to make it stand out compared to Disney's intro, instead of trying to plaster this new logo over it and basically make it not stand out as much. So yeah, basically that was the first change they made. And yeah, I gotta say, I totally agree with people on this. I don't agree with people as much with the Disney bringing back the 2D castle intro. Although it's a good intro, they did use it a lot. This one, I agree with the fans in the comments. I agree with it. I agree with them. They should have, kept. They should have kept, the intro for Pixar, and they didn't. Because, like I said, it's supposed to make it stand out compared to Disney, but it doesn't stand out anymore. So that's kind of gone. But enough about the intro. I talked about the intro a lot in my WALL-E review, so I'm not going to bring it up too much. I just figured I'd bring it up because it's a Pixar, movie. It's a Pixar video. That's why I brought it up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought it up. So yeah, basically though, that was about really the only change that happened for a long time though. See, the movies themselves, they still felt like, they still felt, like Pixar movies. They still did. Pixar told their stories while Disney told their movies were more focused on, comedy and singing and stuff. So their movies, there were songs in Toy Story and Up and all that. And there was people singing in the background, but there was never like characters actually sing. So basically, this trend kind of continued on for a while, which was good. But unfortunately, something bad happened. Unfortunately, by 2018, something very bad happened to Pixar. John Lasseter was fired. Yes, he was fired. Now, the thing is, though, here's the thing with this. Now, I can't really confirm if this is true or not, but people were reporting that John Lasseter was hugging people and basically harassing people and all that behind the scenes and all that. But I feel like there was some other scenes that happened behind the scenes, like with John Lasseter and Disney and all that. Because I mean, there's always stuff going on behind Disney these days. There will be situations like this in the past, but here recently, it's been more frequently, it's been happening. But yeah, John Lasseter unfortunately got fired, and Pixar lost, its creativity because of John Lasseter leaving. Now, I think you probably shouldn't be hugging people and stuff, but I think there was something else that was going on behind the scenes. But again, can't really confirm it. But I'm subscribed to people on YouTube who were Disney workers. They worked at Disney. Not necessarily like in the office and animation and stuff, but they did work with Disney in the parks and stuff. So I do know a bit about Disney and all that because of that stuff. But yeah, sadly, John Lasseter got fired. He got fired from Disney and all that, and so now that he was fired, Pixar was basically now heading down the path. Now, I told you guys the first change to happen with Pixar was they removed the intro. That was the first change to happen. But that was all the way back in 2007 when they decided to change the intro for WALL-E. See, WALL-E had, a different intro for the first trailer, but then the second trailer they removed it. But that was the only change they had. But now things were starting to get pretty serious when John Lasseter got fired. Because honestly, since he got fired, there really hasn't been as many good Pixar movies. There really hasn't been. Toy Story 4, it sucked. So did Onward. That movie was boring as hell. I mean, Soul and Luca were good, but Turning Red was meh. And Lightyear was just a dumpster fire. Heck, even John Lasseter freaking hated that movie. That's how bad it was. And this is a guy who helped, create Star Command and all that. Which is, by the way, a forgotten, Pixar movie that I actually did review on my channel, too. I reviewed that movie on my channel. So clearly, that Pixar, definitely lost, the charm with its movies and stuff. Now, personally, I think part of it, again, was John Lasseter was kind of, he was like the director, he was like George Lucas. You take away George Lucas, then, basically you take away the creativity. Now, sometimes that stuff can still be good without the creator. SpongeBob, for a while there, was still good without, Steven Hillenburg in charge of SpongeBob. But then, it did go downhill. But here, it just went downhill right off the bat. It went downhill right off the bat, and you could definitely see it. You could definitely see it changing here and all that, and yeah, unfortunately, the movies definitely have not been as good. They have not been as good as they originally were. I mean, there were some bad movies, here and there, like there was Brave, and a lot of people didn't like the Cars movies. They were all boring as hell and all that. But people still liked a lot of the movies that John Lasseter was involved with. But since he got fired, we've had a bunch of duds. We've had Toy Story 4, which people are split on. No one talks about Onward. Onward was just boring. People don't talk about it. Soul was good. Luca was good, but not nearly as good as the early films. And then we have, Then we basically have, Lightyear, which was, again, a dumpster fire. So clearly you can definitely see, things changing here. Another thing that was worth noting that kind of changed is you can notice that Pixar, their movies are starting to feel more like Disney movies. They're starting to feel like their energy, their storytelling and their energy is starting to fade away. They're starting to feel more like Disney movies, which is not always a bad thing. But consider they were, once known for their stories and stuff. The fact that, they feel like Disney now, all that, is just saying something. So yeah, clearly, you can see that it's definitely falling. It's definitely falling. There's still some decent movies here and there, but overall, I think because John Lasseter is gone, yeah, you can definitely see it kind of fell. And the thing is, it's gotten kind of worse now, because apparently now the person who saved Toy Story 2 is fired. Yep. She's out the door, and I have a feeling Pixar could end up going under. It could go under. It could go like the Blue Sky route, and Disney could be like, they don't need Pixar. They could just merge it with Disney Plus. I mean, Disney in general. It could happen. I don't know, but it could. If again, Elemental does bad, then it might merge. I mean, at this point, without John Lasseter and, the movie's not feeling like Pixar anymore, you might as well just merge the companies. Heck, like I said earlier, the intro is not, the same. The intro is not the same anymore. The intro, again, is different now because it's basically a exact copy of Disney's intro. While back in the early 2000s and 90s, Pixar had their very own intro. So clearly, all that's really left to stand out is the Pixar logo, lamp segment that appears at the beginning and the end of the movies. That's all that's left. So, yeah, clearly, again, it's just... That's just kind of, what happens after a while. I mean, there's been people who've left Pixar and moved on to other projects. And, John Lasseter, again, he got fired. He got fired, and he's now working at Skydance. So, I don't know what to say here. I don't know what to say. That's why I didn't really want to make a video on Pixar's, downfall, because there's not really a lot to talk about. They don't have as much of a downfall as Disney themselves, like other companies. Which I will be talking about Disney's downfall later, but I'll probably be doing that more in the fall, because I feel like I could probably make a video on that alone. But I figured, there are some things to talk about with Pixar and all that. And although Pixar is now not the same anymore, I will always look back at their older films like Wall-E and Inside Out and Incredibles and Toy Story and all that, and see how their films were once good. And there's still some, like I said, there's still some good films. Like, Luca and Soul are still good, but a lot of them, like Incredibles, and I didn't bring up Incredibles 2 because Incredibles 2 is I don't know if John Lasseter left before that or not, but I do know that that movie was just, it was all right. So was Toy Story 4 was bad, Onward was bad. So clearly you can see the films are definitely not doing as well as they once were because they're not as good. Because without the heart and soul of the company, basically it's not the same anymore. But I don't know what to really say here about anything else, so I'm probably going to go ahead and end up letting this go, though. But anywho, tell me what you guys think. You guys think Pixar is gone downhill, or do you think they're still good? Please let me know down in the comments below. Because personally, I feel like Pixar is definitely not fallen as much as the other Disney, well not just Disney, but other like shows and stuff that I've did videos on, like Blue's Clues and stuff. But it's still gone downhill, I feel like. But I don't know what to really say here. Sorry if this video is kind of short, but trust me that the Disney one is going to be much longer when I do that in the fall. That's going to be much longer because there's a lot more to cover. But anywho, I'm going to go ahead and let things go from here. So anywho, see you guys later. Bye-bye.